A tribute to her mom, Lisa Tolkin, who was the inspiration for her work. This garden began taking shape when Lisa bought the property 9 years ago. She reimagined the landscaping not as separate from the house, but so that every room would focus on a special view of the garden. Her design shows an understanding of detail and proportion with a love of nature that goes back to her childhood.
Are you the kind of person who got her hands dirty and in the soil from a young age already?
My father used to make me dig in the garden and plant plants, and every weekend was spent going to the nursery, and we spent a lot of time out in the country, and it was about nature, the earth and the water, and I think that's where my love of the garden developed.
Lisa, your garden as it is today is spectacular, but what was it like in the beginning?
It was very confusing. It was a mess. No one wanted to buy this house. When my children saw it, they ran away and refused to come back. And I sat with it for a very long time, probably one of my most difficult projects, to work out the master plan of garden rooms and garden spaces and how one flows into those spaces.
You have very specific ideas when it comes to planting. What is your mantra?
Keep it simple. So choose as few plant types as you can. You don't want a fruit salad of different plants and different things happening in the garden. You can see here you've massed one line which defines the edge of hedges, and you build on top of that the layers. You'll see the Acer palmatum, the Japanese maple, which is that beautiful jagged leaf type, which stands in contrast against the beautiful blossom-like buds of the cherry blossoms. I've also framed all these garden rooms with hedges of viburnum, eugenia, even Murray exotica. There are many types of hedges, and I've experimented with a lot of them, and some are successful, some aren't, but every space depends on that framing.
Her carefully layered terraces define different garden rooms.
Being both an architect and a landscape designer, you must have been very particular about setting out your garden to complement the house.
It is my belief that architecture is concrete and stone and bricks, and that is very hard. And we depend on the magic of nature to soften the buildings. There's nothing like a leaf or a tree or branch to break up those hard lines of a building. It is the clothing that makes the buildings happen and work.
I'm looking at the blushes of pink behind you, and I'm thinking how very fitting, since October is Cancer Awareness Month.
I can only hope that people who are suffering can take inspiration from nature, and like we see the miracles of these beautiful cherry blossoms in full bloom, perhaps we can emulate that miracle in one's healing.
These cherry trees were added to the old pin oak and the jacarandas that were already here. Together with bays and silver birches, they create a natural kind of magic.
Apart from being a very important element of your home, what does this garden mean to you?
I believe the garden is a place of miracles. It's about endless possibility. You take a blank canvas and you carve shapes and spaces and rooms and avenues and boulevards into that space, and you bring it to life. And you create feelings. I love going into my garden when things get a little bit too heavy or difficult, and there's nothing like nature to level you and to make us honest.
Lisa's 3 rose gardens offer a full range from white right through to deep purple and red, giving plenty to pick for her arrangements. Adding to her architecture and landscape work, she recently launched an interiors string to her bow.
You don't believe in designing your homes and gardens as two separate entities.
When I see the property, it's an empty canvas, and I'm designing the garden and the house at the same time. They're inseparable. A house is nothing without the branch of a tree or the softness of leaves against the wall for it to exist properly. It's actually the soul of the home.
Having spent some time with you, I can tell that you're the kind of person who really is still very much in love with what she does.
I feel so lucky. I love Mondays. I love going to work. I love being able to create and design a lifestyle, whether it's houses and gardens, because they're both one and the same. I feel so privileged to be one of those people who love what they do.
Lisa's work is a living, breathing kind of architecture which renews itself with every season.